Hello, guys. It's Monday evening. Happy Monday to you. I hope that you guys had an amazing weekend and today got back to work and got all caught up. Probably not. I had some kayaking. I did some bike riding. So, yeah, I'm back in business mode today. So, I hear all the time, if I know my market's value or the price per square foot, I can determine my home's value. And the answer, or the question to that is, what is a myth? Like Jeopardy, what is a myth? Because it's not all about the square footage. And let me tell you a little bit more about that. And by the way, I have the actual biggest myth in real estate that I'm going to share a little bit later on. So stay tuned. But tonight is going to be how you actually determine what the real market value is of your home. And so I want to show you the process. It's diving a little deep into data. And so hold on to your hats. Give me some thumbs up as we go along. And let me remind you, for lots of information, go check out my website, www.susannagentry.com. Let me pop that up there for you so you can make sure to check that out. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about why the price per square foot is only a guideline. What if you are the biggest house in a neighborhood? Okay, so square footage absolutely is how we're going to calculate. Typically, I will pull everything that is listed, so our active listings, and I'll pull all of the pendings, and I'll pull all of the solds for the last 180 days, because that's what an appraiser does. So only the last 180 days are going to be official. So once I've got that market, then I use a rule of thumb, which is plus or minus 10% on the square footage. But there's so much more included in that, because if I have a house, for example, 2,500 square foot house, and that price per square foot is quite a bit higher because the comps are a larger ticket because you have larger homes in there too. So I think a lot of my sellers realize that if they're on the top, they're the high side of that neighborhood, the prices of the other comps could potentially pull you down a little bit. So I want to ask you a couple questions. By the way, give me some thumbs up. Let me know that you're out there. Let's say hi. Hi, Mario. So good to see you. Hi, Alex. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Chris. Okay, hola, ¿cómo estás? All right, that's the extent of my Spanish. Not really, but anyways, okay, so here's a couple questions for you. Do you know that the value of your home is not a stagnant thing? It's not a number that stays. And here's another question. Did you know that the appraiser does not determine your market value? So we all know what an appraisal is. So you list your home, and within a short bit of going under contract, your buyer is going to be working with their title company, and they will order an appraisal, and that's a separate transaction. The buyer cannot order the appraisal because it can't be skewed in any way. So this is a separate party. The title orders it. But have you ever noticed that that appraisal comes back very close to what your offer is on your home? And it's because that is the rule that they are following. What is the true market value is what a buyer is willing to pay for your home. So how do we determine what a buyer is willing to pay for your home? We go through lots of data, and I forgot to set my timer. I wanted to set my timer because I want to make my time shorter. It is so hard to cut down the data and make it really short. But hi, Stacy. Thanks for joining. Hi, Roy. Okay, so I want to share my screen with you. I'm going to show you what an actual CMA looks like. So I kind of told you there's several different categories. The top would be any active listings. And then that's going to be something that you're just hopeful about. You don't know what they're going to go for. So that's what somebody has listed it for. We're hoping to get that. Then you have your pendings, and that's still hopeful because there is no data that tells you what offer has been made. So we don't know if it was above offer, if it was at list price, or if they actually had the seller agree to less than their list price, which would bring the comps down. So that's still kind of a hopeful world. And then going into the solds, that's where there's real data. I'm going to share my screen here. So I would like to jump in a CMA. Here we go. All right, so I kind of marked up here, if you can see, are hopeful. And this is for a listing that I have going live this week. And so these are the comps that I keep an eye on because I want to know what's happening for my seller. Okay, so as you can see, I've underlined 112.84 a square foot. So when I multiply that 112 by her square footage, I can come up with an approximate listing price for her home. But again, remember that it's just hopeful. Let's come down into the real world, which is obviously all of these listings are in her subdivision, and then it's all plus or minus 10% on the square footage. And this right here is just the real data. I'm going to show you how we dig much, much further. A good agent doesn't stop at the data. A good agent is going to go in and do side-by-side comparisons and make adjustments with that. So obviously I had to mark out my sold prices because Texas is a non-disclosure, but I will give you the average for all these listings. With the solds were $117 a square foot, rounding down. Okay, so I pulled this, a little over a week ago, and I just pulled again today. And now that one of my comps have dropped off, see the red one that I circled right here, the 108? Well, now it's older than 180 days. So all of a sudden, my comps are 122, 127, and 112. So I just went up. So instead of having the average of 117 a square foot, now I jumped up to 121, which to her takes the original selling price of 301,750, now just using that guideline with the square footage, to 311,635 or 634. So that's almost $10,000. So that is absolutely huge. Let me get back on and talk to you a little bit more about that. So that's just the data. And obviously, again, it comes into play. If her house is the biggest on the market, I'm not going to get that square footage because my comps are all in the smaller. So there's a lot more details, but that's how we analyze what our ballpark is. Okay, from there, we dive in deeper. And I think that a lot of people don't realize everything that goes into listing a home. I've said before, there's 188 items that I go through on this checklist of listing a home. And the first, and obviously most importantly, is to have it priced appropriately. Okay, let's see. Let me check out some questions here. Stacy, how are things in Austin with the pandemic? Well, you know what, that is a great question, and I'm going to dive into that. I'll answer the questions as we go through, probably after I end this live, because I have so much data that I'm going to be covering, and I will give you a little bit more information on that. Mario, how is the square foot price calculated? Okay, great question. So if I took, like on that CMA that I just showed you, and I have my average at 117 per square foot, I will get my starting place by going 117 times my 2,500 square foot house to come up with my price. But then that's where your agent has to be strategic and look at it, where it is on the spectrum in that neighborhood and what's on the market. Because your buyers are coming in and they're looking at you side by side. Okay, so let me show you a presentation tool that I use with Coldwell Banker, and I love it. Okay, there is a ton of, okay, so I go through about 30 to 40 pages of data on this because, you know, when it's the most expensive thing that or decision you're going to make in a lifetime, probably, we want to be really, really careful with giving you the data. And so I go through these things. So for instance, let's take a look at this. Pricing right. This just blows me away. Okay, so if we price, can you see at the top, the smallest part of my triangle? If we price 15% over the market value, your listing is only appealing to 20% of the buyers? Wow. Oh my gosh, that's only 15%. And that'd be easy because the market is so fluctuating. Okay, how about 10% over market? You've only got 30% of your buyers that are interested in your listing. How about even 5% over market? You've lost 50% of your interested buyers. So look how important that is to have the current market value. And let me just show you some other stats that I just absolutely love. Check this out. Okay, so who do you think is #1 nationwide? Okay, NRT owns Coldwell Banker. And check out the sales volume. I mean, what? $176 billion, Coldwell Banker. And then you can see competition, some great brokerages. But I love that we are at the very top. And so they resource me with so many different tools. And this Moxie presentation I just love. So I'm going to show a little bit more. Again, letting you know that the #1 brand online is Coldwell Banker. And so we have to have a lot of this data and information in order to empower our buyers, because where's the buyers coming from? Online. And these numbers right here said online was 93%. Well, guess what? Now it's 99%. You know, with the COVID virus and everything that's happening, 99% of homes are being found online, and Coldwell Banker is #1 online. So I love that. All right, so let's look at a side-by-side comparison. So if I've loaded in all of my information to this subject, I've pulled all the data, the bedrooms, the square footage, my year, my tax rate, all of that. And I'm going to go into my comparisons. Well, side by side, there is such a huge difference. Okay, it's not just the square footage. Look at this. We've got a difference of 159 a square foot versus 135. And why is this? It hasn't been adjusted. So right here, if you have somebody giving you a cost analysis of your home and they're not doing any adjustments, it's probably because they're not going to the extra work, because it's a pretty in-depth process. I'm going to go in here and I'll show you. We're going picture by picture. So if I am looking at this home, and this is my subject or one of my comps, I'm going to be looking at the wood floors. I'm going to look at the kitchen, the updated. I'm going to go through picture by picture to see what is better or not as good as my listing. And so to get the true value, I need to look every single picture and be able to make those adjustments. Okay, so let me see how to get back out of here. I think I lost. I lost my screen. I've got it zoomed up. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that and just talk to you. Okay, so I'm back. All right, so as you can see, there's so many calculations that go into a cost analysis, and I just put together my Selling Your Home Guide, and so it's got lots of data in here. if you are thinking about selling within the next couple of months, let me know. I'd be happy to send this to you. I don't even care if you're not local. I'll send it out to you. It's just a digital copy. So write in the comments, seller guide, and I will be happy to get that out to you. And Chris says the price per square foot can vary greatly by the area and the neighborhood. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you can be 2 miles away and it's not apples to apples. And so typically, if there's comps, we're starting out with the neighborhood that you're in. And then if we can't get enough comps, we might be able to go out a little bit further. But then you're going to have to make adjustments, based on HOA and tax rates and stuff like that. So as you can tell, this is not a simple thing. This is can be hours creating a very in-depth cost analysis. By the way, brings me to the number one real estate myth. And has anybody guessed it yet? Let's see here. The number one myth, apps can determine your home's value. Oh my gosh, so not true. It's a big myth. So as you can see, based on my example of the CMA that I pulled a few days ago, it went up $10,000. And I just had a girlfriend do this today. She just emailed me or texted me. She was like, oh my gosh, you got to check out this house. It's perfect. It's perfect. The location. And it was on the Zillow app. You guys love the Zillow app. I do too. I mean, you send it all the time. And so then I have to dive in and I have to look at what's actually going on in this Zillow property. So it said this home's value was $278. The estimate was $278. Well, I pulled it up, and not only is it already pending, so she cannot get in there, it's pending, but the last 3 homes, because I knew I was doing the show tonight, so I wanted to tell you guys, the last 3 homes within the last 180 days in that neighborhood was an average of $301,878, and Zillow put it at $278. And it went pending at $315. So just to let you know, don't rely on those apps. They can be the most frustrating thing. I know that it's fun to look up all these properties, but you never know when they're pending or AC, active contingent, so let me know if you have any questions, and I appreciate you guys joining in. You're so awesome. I love trying to give you new information and empower you with one of the biggest financial decisions that you ever make in your life. So if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up in the comments. Let me know that you enjoy this. And for you sellers, make sure that you comment seller guide, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good night.